Finally, we got the quick vote question of the week. What happens to those who died before hearing the gospel? The other options we gave to you, the origin and use of the cross, praying for the dead, Christian and circumcision, and you didn't choose any of those. You chose what happens to those who died before hearing the gospel. That's what you chose. And so I'm going to answer that question. Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Therefore, is there any hope of salvation for those who died before the gospel got to them? Okay, the Bible gives us a clear answer. I want to read it to you. Romans chapter 2. I'm reading from verse 12. For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law. And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. If you didn't get the full understanding of that, it's very simple. It says those who sinned without law shall be judged without law. And those who sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. So a man that didn't hear the gospel, he says, when the Gentiles which have not the law. See, those who had the law were those, the children of Israel, who were given the law. And so they're going to be judged by the law. And those who sinned before the law, meaning without the law, will be judged without the law, according to their conscience. Then talked about the Gentiles who were not given the law at all. And so, and haven't heard the gospel. So it says, when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which are the work of the law written in their hearts. There's something we call the golden rule. Jesus said, do unto others what you will have them do to you. It's called the golden rule for a reason. Your conscience can tell whether or not what's being done to you is okay, because it's what you did to others. So you want to do to others what you want them to do to you. So your conscience can tell. So he says they will be judged by their conscience. But you see, again, that tells the limits of their rewards, of the glory they get, because it's those who have been separated by the gospel of Jesus Christ that are brought into that glory. Now, others who are brought into the gospel, who lived before the gospel, were those who looked forward to the gospel because they heard of Jesus coming. We're talking about men and women who lived long ago, in the days of the prophets, the kings, and so on and so forth, who knew about the promise of the Messiah, and they looked forward to the Messiah coming. And now Messiah has come, and they have received that message, and the Bible says they also will be part of this whole thing. Maybe I should read something about that to you in the book of Hebrews. Hebrews chapter 9 from verse 15. And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. So he says that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament. So even those who were under the first testament and they were looking forward to the redemption, he says they also, their sins will be purged. See, by means of death, the death of Christ, even though they lived under the first testament. So they also are brought into this eternal inheritance. So that's what it is. For your question, what happens to those who died before hearing the gospel? So they will be judged according to their conscience. And if they were among those who were looking forward to the redemption, then the fulfillment has taken place and they will be blessed by the gospel that they were expecting. You said, is there any hope of salvation for those who died before the gospel got to them? Any salvation? Salvation will only be for those who were looking forward to it. See, that's what I just said. Salvation will only be for those who were looking forward to it. And that's the reason we find that men like David, and the great men of old, men and women of old, who were looking forward to it. The Bible tells us that when Jesus Christ was raised from the dead, it's in Matthew's Gospel. You study this in the 27th chapter. Let me read it to you. Verse 52. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. It says, many saints who slept, they slept, they died before Jesus came. See, but they were looking for, that's what they're called saints. They were looking forward to the redemption that Christ would bring. And you know, when Jesus died, he went to Hades, he went to hell. And the Bible tells us how that he led captives in his train, you see, and the graves opened. They came out after his resurrection. When Jesus Christ arose, they arose with him. And the Bible says they went into the holy city. And then after that, they went up and waited for him, because he remained here for 40 days and 40 nights before his final ascension. They were waiting for him. The Bible tells us that they were the cloud of witnesses waiting for him, and they received him out of the sight of those who were watching in Acts chapter 1. So that tells you that salvation through the gospel was only for those who were waiting for the Messiah to come, apart from those of us who entered into it after it was consummated. Now all others would fall into the class that the Bible says will be judged according to their conscience. And like I said, their blessings will be different.